Hey, let's talk about you, the ID10T community events at ID10T.com, like Russ Stevens, a.k.a.
Cat Bus Russ,
who has started a podcast called 90 for Chill, which Russ says is dedicated to movies with a runtime between 74 and 99 minutes, the time frame that I feel is ideal. Russ, I could not agree with you more. That is a fantastic idea. Russ goes on to say there are times you need a cinematic fix but don't have time for the latest Scorsese masterpiece or offering from a comic book universe. There's also times when you need a conclusion to prevent a binge costing you a whole night. My guest and I try to follow these guidelines as we chat up features that are definitely worth your time and are beyond easy to make time for. 90 for Chill, the podcast, can be found on all major podcast platforms at 90forchill.com, and that's spelling out 90, Ninety for FOR chill. So there you go. Thank you so much for sharing, Russ. Really great idea for a podcast. Events at ID10T.com for everyone else.
I'm Ashley Chancellor.
And I'm Bo Maddox.
And this is Collateral Cinema. Welcome to Collateral Cinema, the only movie podcast that matters, where we focus on good movies, bad movies, and everything else in between in the world of cinema. We are recording straight from somewhere in South Texas, and yes, my friends, we are a 420-friendly podcast, so whatever you have, smoke it if you've got it.
Oh, yeah. And this is a fascinating movie to smoke to, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We are talking about The Amazing Spider-Man. Now, this is not my favorite Spider-Man film, but it is a film that I do have a soft spot for. And it's a film that I would say I actually have a unique relationship with. And that's why I wanted to bring it to this. We did Spider-Man 3, so we've covered the Raimi trilogy. We covered No Way Home when it came out. So I really felt like this was the right direction to go. I was like, it's time, because I really have a lot of love for Andrew Garfield's portrayal of Spider-Man and for this film and also its sequel, which has its flaws, but I will defend this film. I think The Amazing Spider-Man 1 is a solid movie.
Well, yeah, and I can kind of see where people would both defend this movie and both kind of criticize it. I mean, yeah. It's definitely, like I said, it's a fascinating movie, and it's definitely an entertaining movie.
Yeah.
I mean, is it the best Spider-Man movie? Absolutely not.
No.
But, I mean, we'll get into that here in a little bit. But honestly, I mean, when I was watching it, both for like the first time by myself, and then I watched it again with you just last night. I mean, it was fun, man.
It was fun. We watched it again together, and we were having a blast with it. And I was just pointing out all of these little things and just everything about this film. It's a film that I really know and to my heart because I've watched it so many times. I love this movie. I really do. When it first came out back in 2012, it was my favorite Spider-Man movie at the time because, recency bias and me being a little younger and all that. But and I was a huge fan of the Raimi Spider-Man films. I mean, that's what started my special interest in Spider-Man. I mean, Spider-Man is one of my special interests, folks. So this is another episode where you're going to hear me spurg out. But this film in particular, I remember when it came out, I loved it so much. And one of the real reasons for that was Andrew Garfield, because for one, okay, I actually really like what they're doing with the portrayal of Peter Parker here. And we often hear it said that he's a great Spider-Man, but not as great of a Peter Parker, or, other actors like Tobey Maguire are the better Peter Parker. And I don't disagree with that, at least as it pertains to the character that we know as in the comics and the legacy that character has. But I do think that this is a really unique take on it. And I personally heavily identify with it because like this Peter was like, for me, this was me growing up. I was the skater geek. And I really, really liked that. He wasn't your stereotypical nerd. He was more of a social outcast, but he even dressed the way that I did. He skated like I did in high school. So, and I was in high school around this time. So I was so in love with this portrayal. I was like, oh my God, he's literally me.
Yeah, I mean, I could kind of see that,
Yeah.
It does feel like this has a more relatable portrayal of the Parkers themselves,
Yes, that too.
like especially like with the family dynamic, and also just with the way that that Peter Parker actually deals with both his family life and his school life. I mean,
Yes.
it feels a little more grounded, a little more realistic. Now I will say that, I mean, Andrew Garfield was 29 at the time he made this, and he looks it all the way. But I mean, he still manages to give a young enough portrayal that, I mean, he does kind of more or less nail some of the basic premise of where they're going with Peter Parker here. Like he's not the huge dork that Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker was. He's a little more socially. He's a little more of a social butterfly in this high school, it seems like. I mean, he does actually interact with a lot of people here. I mean, he's not a complete outcast. He's just not completely on the bottom of the social ladder either.
Well, again, I guess that kind of goes back to my experience with high school, because I was the same way. Like I would consider myself an outcast, but I had friends. People talk to me, but nobody was close to me. And that's what this Peter is. It's like, okay, here's this girl who's like, hey, you want to, it looks like she's flirting with him at first. And she's asking him about taking pictures. Then it's like, oh, take pictures of me and my boyfriend. He's like, it's like nobody really like notices him.
Well, but hey, at the end of the day, it means that he's approachable,
Yeah.
I mean, he at least gives off a little bit of an approachable demeanor to everyone here. And that's what, I mean, even when he has his first beating by the bully Flash, I mean, even then he's being told to take a picture. So, I mean, he's kind of well known for his photography in the school and everything. So, I mean, he only really treats Peter like shit once he stands up to him. So, I mean, it does feel like he's just kind of a little more in between there socially. And if that's what you were experiencing, I kind of understand that.
Yeah.
Me being homeschooled, of course, I mean, that's not really my experience. I had to kind of build my own friend clique in my own way when I was growing up. But I mean, but I can see how you can see that as relatable here, because this is probably the most relatable Peter Parker that we have out of all these movies.
Exactly. He's super relatable. Like I said, very personally relatable to me. There are aspects of Tobey's Peter that are like hugely relatable to me as well. But I really identified with this portrayal for a number of reasons and it even came down to the way that what's funny is like his general demeanor and his mannerisms when he's talking to Gwen, it's like, that's kind of the way that I act around women to this day. I really do. Like, I kind of picture that in my head, or even just kind of like his, like the way that he, that when he's discovering his powers, I love that scene. I love the way that he portrays it. I always thought back to that as when I was younger, and I was like, man, if I got powers one day, like this is how I would want it to be. Like, this is how I would act. I just had this whole like fantasy in my head.
So you would absolutely have that awkward first moment in the subway car where you piss off a bunch of people, and then you're just like, wait, what the fuck is going on here?
Or he, or whatever, he's just like fucking up the entire bathroom sink and everything with his strength. And,
he doesn't know what his strength is yet. So I mean, he's just trying to do everything normally, but I mean, he can't really go that far.
Or when he slams the door and the glass breaks, and it's like, it was like, that's kind of how I expected my powers to manifest one day. That just suddenly I'd have more strength than I realized. There are a lot of moments of this that are easy to compare to the Raimi version, like him discovering his powers, like him fighting Flash, the bully, and all these various things. And I remember thinking, okay, the Raimi version was probably a little bit better, but I like that they went for a different take on it here. And that's really what this film offers, is it offers a different take on things. And like you mentioned, some things even a little bit better, like the family dynamic. I mean, you couldn't have picked better choices for Ben and May than Martin Sheen and Sally Field. They really...
Absolutely,
we were talking about it. They convincingly like portray that family dynamic. It feels like a real family, you know? They argue a little bit, but they all love each other.
Yeah, exactly. And you also have Field and Sheen giving just superlative performances here as their characters. I mean, I will say, the script might have been a little ineloquent with some of their lines, you know, like for instance, you know, let's go ahead and get into it. The analog for with great power comes great responsibility
They
line
dance
here.
around saying that so badly, and I'm like, just say the fucking line. We know what you're trying to say. It just feels like a little awkward.
Yeah.
The way that they try to do that line, but not really. And then I guess they retconned it in No Way Home, or maybe at some other point Ben said it because Andrew was like, oh yeah, that's the thing that Ben said the night he died.
It's like, no, he did not say it like that.
He didn't say with great power comes great responsibility.
He insinuated it.
He insinuated
more or less.
Yeah. But, you know, I get but he does like kind of hone in on what that means. And I think that this film does a good job of actually showing Peter's journey and, you know, discovering the type of hero he is. And I mean, all versions of Spider-Man have to go through that struggle at some point. You know, their motives aren't always quite clear from the outset until, you know, they kind of hit that moment where they realize, like, okay, this is what it means to be Spider-Man. That if you have the power to protect people, then you have a moral obligation to do those things, you know? And it's why I'm not mad, for instance, at the fact that the whole like subplot of Peter trying to find his uncle's killer is just dropped. He never avenges him. I know some people would criticize that, but I felt even the first time watching this film that was intentional. It was like, that's not the point anymore.
Yeah, it seems like more of a thematic choice than anything. You know, it goes into the theme of, you know, the actual morality of vigilantism a little bit, you know, and what it means to actually, you know, step up and become a hero, especially if you're going to do so outside of the law and be extrajudicial about it.
Yeah, because Dennis Leary's Captain Stacy calls him out on it. You know, he's like, you know, oh no, this guy's hunting down a specific type of criminal that matches a description. This feels like a personal vendetta. And I think that's the moment where Peter realizes, okay, you know, this is not what my uncle wanted.
Yeah, that's kind of that first stab that you get. And that's why it's kind of great that they have Captain Stacy, played by Dennis Leary, who also is really good in this movie, honestly.
And it's a canon event that he dies.
And it's a canon event that he dies, absolutely. I mean, it makes a lot of sense there, you know. I mean, he's really kind of trying to put forth this like, look, yeah, I mean, it is good that he got them off the streets, but it's like, look, we kind of have a way that we do this. It's like, and at the end, ACAB is a motherfucker, but I mean, honestly, I mean, he does bring up a point, you know. It's like, I mean, one of the car thieves that he apprehended was part of a sting, you know, and you know, that kind of ruined a lot of work.
Yeah,
it's like, I mean, that's
a valid point.
What it is, you know. It's a valid point.
Although I did side with Peter when he was like, okay, so why wasn't he? He's like, if I wanted that criminal off the streets,
me too.
He would be. And then he was like, well, so why wasn't he?
It's more like neither of them are actually wrong there.
Yeah,
it feels like.
But then he explains, and it's like, okay, no, that's the reason. I get it. But yeah, I mean, he feels like, you know, the cop that's trying to do the good thing. You know, I think they try to justify it in Across the Spider-Verse. You know, where they're like, you know, I know you put on the badge because somebody else would put it on if you didn't.
Yeah,
and at least you're doing good. And I would believe that that's what this Captain Stacy does. He is a little bit prone to certain tendencies. You could kind of see the way that he kind of, you know, sees justice and whatnot. But at the end of the day, you know, once he realizes the Spider-Man is Peter, he immediately understands, no, this guy wants the same thing that I want, which is to protect my daughter. So, yeah, at the end of the day, you know, Captain Stacy, he realizes that Peter wants the same thing as him. The same reason that he probably puts on the badge every day is to protect his daughter and the other daughters, right? But, you know, it's like that's the moment where it comes into where it becomes evident to the both of them, and he lets him go, right?
Yeah, in a way, it's a little bit of a reality check.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's good to have a character like Captain Stacy to provide that reality check and to kind of be like, no, this is kind of how we do things, and Spider-Man is kind of ruining it. But that said, I'm also like, for fuck's sake, man, there's a ginormous fucking lizard going around destroying shit around town, and it's like you're worried about Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Especially when people have witnessed Spider-Man like actually helping out trying to stop the damn thing.
Well, and I think, it comes down to like this, like it's a personal thing for him, the same way that it is for JJJ, who is unfortunately absent from this duology.
Yeah.
Besides a passing email that we see in Amazing Spider-Man 2.
I will say it would have been interesting to see who they would have got for J. Jonah Jameson. Right. Like, even if they would have just brought back the original,
Well, and because J.K. Simmons is the J. Jonah Jameson in 2 out of 3 of these live action films, I think we could headcanon that he is also the J. Jonah Jameson of this universe.
Yeah. It's got to be J.K. Simmons, man.
It's got to be J.K. Simmons.
I mean, he perfected that role, and I mean, it made sense for them to bring him back in home in like the other Disney Marvel Spider-Man movies. It made a lot of sense.
Far From Home and No Way Home,
it made a hell of a lot of sense to have him there.
Right, exactly. But anyway, Captain Stacy kind of has that whole shtick, but at the end of the day, once he's presented with the information, and he realizes, okay, no, this is Peter Parker, and I don't really like this guy, but at the end of the day, I know this guy cares about my daughter, and I know this guy is trying to do the right thing. He's able to piece that together based on his interactions with him, and that's it. At the end of the day, he says, no, this city needs you, but leave Gwen out of it. Now that's a whole thing in Amazing Spider-Man 2 where Dennis Leary appears as a ghost in Peter's subconscious and haunts him.
Didn't that become a meme at some point?
I'm sure it did, but
yeah.
The whole point of that movie, though, was Gwen basically has the agency to make that decision for herself.
Oh, okay.
And
interesting.
I mean, obviously that doesn't end well for her, but hey, that was her decision. So he really doesn't actually have the grounds to do that, to tell her that she can't. But at the end of the day, as a father, would I do anything different?
I mean, I guess that depends on a few things, but I mean, yeah. At the end of the day, he realizes what the extent as to how Peter actually cares about Gwen. But I mean, at the same time, he's just like, no, I don't want my daughter to be involved with this. And interestingly enough, in the comics, wasn't it kind of the opposite though, where he was actually very supportive of Spider-Man? He was like, protect Gwen at all costs.
He was in Spider-Man 3 as well.
Yeah, he was, right?
Which was, I guess, closer to the comics. But I do like this version of George Stacy. I think that actually it's actually, this is definitely a better portrayal than we got from the Raimi films. So that's one point to the Amazing Spider-Man, is that we got, a deeper character. And we know that we can change some characters up like Alfred Molina did with Dr. Octopus and make them better, elevate them past the medium that they came from. So I'm okay with that. I'm okay with transforming them. We also have Dr. Curtis Connors, another character who is, obviously he's the villain, right?
Exactly.
Played by the Rhys Ifans. Or Evans.
And I think that he was okay here, but I mean, I think that we could have gotten a little more development with a little more character development with him, both as the Lizard and as just Connors, because I mean, I feel like a lot of his character development is just kind of shoehorned in a little bit.
It's like as soon as he gets injected with the serum, he just suddenly wants to transform everybody into lizard people.
It just kind of comes out of nowhere, right? And it's like, I mean, yeah, he does have kind of those little instances where he's just like, I want to overcome weakness. I want to make people equal, but I mean, it's like even that's kind of a weird motive to be doing what you're doing. It's like, just say you want to regrow your arm, dude.
Well,
it's like, I mean,
that's what he wants to do, but he also talks about how he wants to make the world better and
he does have an ethics to what he's doing.
The whole idea of his whole cross-species genetics is the idea is to cure people, to make people, to bring them up above what they are. And that could be used to fix people that aren't quite whole. But, Lizard Connors is like, okay, no, we need to turn everybody into lizard people because that's the evolution of humanity.
Yeah, he basically just becomes a straight up reptile supremacist at that point. I mean, and you have all the other reptiles coming down there to chill with him, which I thought was an interesting touch.
Yeah, it was. I like that he's exactly that in No Way Home as well.
Exactly, right?
He's literally just the reptile supremacist. That's like the only aspect of his character they kept in that film for what little screen time he had. But I mean, I guess it makes sense. He was the lizard by that point. But yeah, I mean, they could have dug a little bit deeper with him, but I did feel like for the first time that we got the lizard on screen, he was a pretty compelling villain, and they went for, again, the dynamic of, okay, here's a mentor character that Peter respects that is a good person before the big accident, and then,
Yeah, so it has that kind of parallel with like Norman Osborn in Spider-Man and also our Dr. Octopus.
In both Spider-Man 2, the movie, and in Spider-Man PS4.
Exactly, that's right.
Yeah, same thing. And I think that's a kind of an essential dynamic that you got to have in a lot of these Spider-Man films. And I think that it works. But the other thing that Kurt Connors brings with him is the MacGuffin for this film, which is cross-species genetics. And I do feel that the cross-species genetics was actually a more scientifically sounding explanation that we got before. I actually really dug that. I was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And it's all centered around Oscorp. I think that comes from the Ultimate comics. Like, a lot of this film draws from the Ultimate line, which makes sense. I mean, they're trying to do something different than what we got before, which Raimi was kind of hailing back to some of that old, golden age of comic books.
Yeah.
Silver age of comic books.
And that's kind of where you get that cornball feel with the original Raimi trilogy, especially with that first movie, Like for instance, and Peter Parker, he's of course a nerd in all of these, but I mean, even that's portrayed differently here in the Raimi films. I mean, he's more of like a traditionally portrayed, very tropey kind of nerd, like he's more like a chess club, like getting like very much an outcast,
and that's in line with the 60s, 70s portrayal of Spider-Man from the comics as we know him, and the stereotypical nerd.
But this is a more modern portrayal of a nerd. It's like, I mean, by this point, nerdy stuff was starting to become a little more in the mainstream and everything.
Right.
So it's not that out of place that somebody would be into, like science or into like I think he has a Rear Window poster up in his room, so he's probably into movies and everything, So I mean, he's a geek, but I mean, he's not portrayed as being lesser because of it.
Right.
He's portrayed as just being brilliant in his own right. You know, and that's not it's not something that's socially inhibitive to him.
Right. Exactly. So, and we mentioned before, I like his dynamic with Flash the bully. I mean, I think that this character is something they also kind of try to kind of put their own spin on it. And what's really cool is there's a moment where Flash picks him up and he's like, where Peter picks Flash up and he's like, oh, he's like, it feels good, right? And it's at that moment that we understand that Flash is also a product of some kind of trauma or, something going on at home that caused him to be the way that he is. And there's that connection. So, and we even see him kind of come around and be a bro to him later. So that was cool.
That was actually good. That was giving emotional depth and character development to a character that traditionally would just get humbled and then just kind of thrown by the wayside, kind of like what you saw in Spider-Man for the most part.
Right.
But here you have the bully actually kind of be a human being for a change and actually just been like, yo, your uncle died, man. It's like, I understand.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I think Flash starts to realize at that moment too,
Exactly.
And that was after he got humbled. That's another.
Yeah, that's another thing. It's like he actually got humbled. And sometimes that's something we discussed when we were watching it. Sometimes there's some characters and there's some people that they just need to be humbled. They just, if they're going to learn something.
Yeah. And that's another scene that I would say that, like, when you compare it to the Raimi version, it's like, okay, yeah, I like the fight, the bully fight in the original a little bit better. I think that's a better scene, but I do like that they were doing something a little different with this. And it does feel a little silly though, because his uncle's like, oh, you humiliated that boy. Like, so what? He needed to be.
Yeah, he deserved it. He deserved it. And you know what? He actually turned out to be a better person because of it.
Exactly.
So yeah, take that, Uncle Ben.
But I think maybe his whole thing was like, you must be feeling pretty good about yourself. So I think it was more of like it was more a critique on Peter's psyche, I guess, as a result of that. But
that makes sense.
We've talked a lot about the Peter Parker character and dynamics with other characters, but what about Spider-Man here? What did you think about Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man?
I do like that they actually make him funny for a change, and it's something that they actually did kind of do well in the Marvel trilogy, the more recent movies. They did that well with Tom Holland and everything. Yeah. But here, this is better than that still, because I mean, Andrew Garfield does have excellent comedic timing. Like, have you ever seen some of his other work? Like, he's got good timing on this sort of thing.
Yeah.
And that one scene where he apprehends the car thief and the cop comes and everything, like, he's just hamming it up the whole time.
I love it.
He's having a blast, being a dick to this guy, man. Even looking at the wrist, looking for the tattoo, and just being like, oh man, this could have got a whole lot worse for you.
Yeah. I love like from his quips to his general like demeanor, like the way he like tilts his head and stuff. That's just so comic Spidey. And I feel like, Andrew Garfield does have like arguably the best portrayal of Spider-Man, the superhero. Peter had his quips, but they didn't dig into it as deep as this one did. Tom Holland's Spider-Man does feel like something a little bit different, where like it's almost like he's the butt of jokes sometimes, because it's like he's so young and stuff. I haven't really quite gotten that. Like, I don't know that he's really like nailed that like quippiness, or at least they haven't done with the script. I fully believe Tom Holland's capable of it, but and in fact, I've seen it in a particular deleted scene that was perfect, and I don't know why it was removed from Far From Home, because it's like literally the most comic accurate we've gotten from that. But anyway, Andrew Garfield really nails it. I think he completely gets into the role in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Here, he's still kind of growing into it, but we have those moments, like you mentioned the scene with the car thief, and I'm swinging here.
Exactly.
Oh, you've been a bad lizard.
Yeah, actually making quips during the fight with the lizard, and like he was like, Dr. Connors, this isn't you. Don't make me hurt you. Like when he's getting slammed around.
He's just
like,
so
that's
funny.
great.
It is like, if you're gonna dress like if you're gonna steal cars, don't dress like a car thief, man.
And then even calling him out, like when the car thief asks, is he a cop? He's like, really, dude?
You really think I'm a cop in a skin tight red and blue suit?
It's like, come on, man.
Exactly.
Like, seriously.
It's so funny. But is that a knife? Yes. It's my weakness, small knives.
I mean, seriously, that's a great scene in its own right, and it kind of makes the movie a little bit.
It does. It's where we actually see him fully lead into the Spider-Man persona, and I love it. It's really, really great. There's a lot of great moments like that. The web slinging scenes, the Raimi version had the superior web slinging scene, still does. I mean, Raimi just nails that cinematography, but we get a little bit of that mashed up with some other stuff. I really like the point of view stuff that they do in this movie.
Yeah, I kind of wish that we could have gotten a little more of that here.
A little more of it?
The point of view Spidey stuff is always interesting, even to the point where I kind of wish that there was some kind of mod or some feature in one of the more recent Spider-Man games where they could have at least done the web slinging with point of view, with a point of view option,
Yeah.
That would have been, with a first person option, that would have been cool, right?
Yeah.
Even if it's just the web slinging. Like that would be such an interesting way to present that aspect of Spider-Man's character and that aspect of his powers and everything.
Well, we do have the VR game or whatever, but
oh, okay.
There's that. I haven't even tried that, but I know there's some Disney Marvel like VR game or two. But that would be dope as fuck, because I really like the point of view scenes. I wish there wasn't so many jump cuts in this movie that undercut some of the better scenes like that.
That is a big issue with this movie, is that there's some edits here where I'm just like, Yeah. It's like, it feels like there's some information that's missing there.
It's like, why don't we get like a full, like extended point of view scene in like one shot, or, at least make it look that way. Like these weird jump cuts kind of, they undercut the whole thing, or sometimes they just feel weird, like in the car thief scene. I'm like, why did it cut there? There was really no reason for them to do that. But I don't know, maybe that's kind of trying to that's part of the aesthetic they're trying to do.
Well, I mean, that was something that, especially in the 2010s, was starting to get bad with a lot of action movies. Was really frenetic jump cuts and everything. It's like, at the time it made for more tension. Like I mean, the Taken movies, I mean, they're infamous for this.
Yeah,
but I mean, it's like the editing here. It's like it could have been better in many ways, but I mean, when you get to the point of view shots, it's like those were at least well done.
Yeah,
and those were at least edited well.
And there's some other stuff. This movie does suffer from the trend of movies after the Dark Knight trilogy that did all superhero movies as dark and brooding. I mean, and grounded. That we've talked about this before, but it's like every superhero movie wanted to do that. But surprisingly, it actually works pretty well here for a Spider-Man story, which you wouldn't think would work with a darker tone, but they actually pull it off.
Yeah, they do, and it still kind of has that kind of light flair to some of it. Like for instance, we're at the scene where Flash gets humbled by Peter. It's like that's actually a pretty fun and colorful moment in its own right, but it's still kind of a little more grounded than what you got in the Raimi-verse.
Yeah, this movie does feel a lot more grounded. Like I mentioned, I think it's really trying to hail back to that like ultimate line, the more modern take on the character. It's also why the film takes place entirely within high school instead of just, the first third or half of it. And then, Tom Holland would go on to do 3 movies in high school. It's like they're really trying to extend this period of time, but
they really are. Yeah.
That was only 30 issues in the original comics, but the Ultimate Universe, Peter originally dies as a high school student. So that actually fully fits with that. But, the entire film is set in high school, but the entire film has a kind of a darker tone. And they also have this weird subplot that unfortunately doesn't really pay off later in the second film. They never really kind of put a satisfying conclusion to this, but we do have this kind of interesting subplot with his parents that the first movie series didn't even address ever.
And that's kind of sad because this is kind of another one of those interesting turns that the script gives us is that we actually do get to see his parents, his dad, the Parkers. Yeah. And which we haven't seen yet up to this point. And I would have liked to have seen a little more of what happened to them and, what reason they were actually disappeared in the first place.
And I think there is some semblance of that in the comics. I know the film, the comics do reference his parents. That's something like, the Raimi movies, beyond like a passing mention at the beginning, I live with my aunt and uncle. Yeah. Like we never know. Like, okay, his parents died, I guess, but they never say that. Here we actually kind of have this whole mystery that's set up. And it kind of suffers from some of the same problems that the Disney Star Wars trilogy suffers from, which is that they, like somebody wrote something that they didn't pay off later. Like
exactly.
It's like either they didn't know what they were doing at first and or they changed their minds or something happened because it just doesn't really work out. But it's cool as a concept in this film. I like how it kind of becomes this whole part of the plot. Again, they're really kind of trying to shoot for something. This is the first time they rebooted Spider-Man after the Raimi trilogy. So it's like, okay, like, what can we do to differentiate it? And it's like, okay, well, let's have this whole mystery thing going on in the background. And I like that. It's intriguing.
It is, and it's a damn shame that we never got any follow through on that. I mean, they could have at least made it somewhat a part of the second movie.
They do answer it. I just don't feel like it's answered in any kind of meaningful way, and I don't know that it really ties up everything as well as we'd like. I mean, obviously they planned to make more movies after that, so they didn't resolve everything, but they sort of answer it, but not really. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's weird. His parents were up to some weird shit, and Kurt Connors was in on that too. And apparently, Peter's dad had figured it out, but nobody else did. And I think in the second one, they revealed that it's actually his blood that is the key to it, and so therefore Peter's blood is the key, which I thought was kind of weird.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, that's the reason why Peter is able to get bitten by the spider and he's okay, but Kirk Connors takes the serum and turns into a mutant lizard. It's
Dude, who the hell was writing that fucking script, man?
very strange. It's
what was that?
Yeah, it's
Jesus.
specifically like Peter and his dad's blood, I guess, is the necessary. No, because I think like the spiders were bred with his blood or something, or with his DNA, and that's why. But I don't know. It was strange.
That is very odd.
Yeah. But here, I still think it was cool what they were trying to do here with that. And then, like I mentioned, I like the cross-species genetics aspect of it. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it actually kind of gives, once again, more grounding, because it does actually seem like a reasonable explanation for how Peter Parker would actually gain the abilities after a spider bite.
Yeah.
Because,
meanwhile, MCU Spider-Man has not even tried to explain it. They're just like, you know what? Y'all have seen enough of these. Y'all know that there's some scientific explanation that works with it, but we're not going to tell you.
But then we have the Spider-Verse, where pretty much all the spiders are sent out specifically to make Spider-Man. Pretty much.
Yeah. Well, then Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, which is MCU adjacent, but not taking place in the MCU, has an interesting explanation where it's actually like a time loop, and Peter ends up Peter's spider-powered blood is used to reverse engineer spiders, and that spider is sent back in time and bites Peter in the first place.
Oh yeah, that's insane. What the fuck?
So maybe that's what happened in the MCU version too. We're not too sure, but
yeah, that might be an explanation.
Or something similar, but yeah. Anyway, yeah, I think that this film actually did, like I mentioned, it's riding on the trend of superhero movies that needed to be more grounded, or everybody felt that they needed to, and it actually kind of works with it. It actually makes a convincing film at the end of the day with it, which can't be said for all movies that try to do that. Fantastic Four 2015.
Exactly. But yeah, we're going to have to get to that one eventually. And that's going to be...
that's kind of from the same era of superhero films.
It is, the dark and grounded era.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's the post Dark Knight era, because Dark Knight actually belongs to the same era as, for instance, the Raimi trilogy. But it was right at the tail end of that, and it heralded in this new trend where everybody tried to do that. And this was one of those early examples, if not the first example, back in 2012. Another thing is that this movie came out the same year as The Avengers.
Yeah, that's interesting enough. I mean, and The Avengers was a very interesting take on the superhero genre in its own right. I mean, that was Joss Whedon. It was Whedon doing that one, right? Was it Whedon or the Russos? Yeah,
Joss Whedon.
Yeah.
Actually, Iron Man was the first movie before the Amazing Spider-Man, following the Dark Knight trilogy, that actually did that.
Okay.
Or following the Dark Knight, I should say, because Iron Man, I think, came out the same year as the Dark Knight. But it did the same thing and tried to doing this more. I guess you could say both of those movies then kind of did that for the genre. And that's why everybody tried to do the same thing, but with making a more grounded film. But even the MCU kind of moved a little bit away from that and blended, the realism with the fantastical elements. But at that time, the Avengers was still kind of more in that realm of groundedness. So these films felt like they could be in the same universe, and there were talks. I remember specifically someone on either the Sony or the Marvel side had said that they were trying to reconcile these, and I know this was probably when their negotiations began.
Yeah.
But then ultimately they decided that they would just reboot Spider-Man again, because I guess that would be easier than, trying to explain what Andrew Garfield was doing during the New York invasion in 2012.
Yeah, right. It's like, where was he at that point?
I remember asking myself that. I was like, man, I really want these films to be part of the same universe, and I want them to add the Amazing Spider-Man. And when I was a kid, and I was like, man, yeah. I mean, they could just show him like rescuing civilians while the Avengers were doing their thing. I'm sure there was chaos over the city, but it would be cool to acknowledge it. They never did, but yeah, interesting fact. At one point, I believe it was considered.
And that would have been an interesting way to kind of put Andrew Garfield in the MCU, and I think that he could have had a good run there.
Definitely,
honestly,
definitely.
I mean, even if he was a bit old at the time.
He did make his way into the MCU eventually.
Eventually, yeah. But honestly, I think what hurt him there was also his age, probably.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he's getting up there in age. I mean,
and these two films were not particularly well received. I remember at the time,
exactly.
The Amazing Spider-Man 1 was not seen as bad. People just thought it was like, it felt unnecessary.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, but why didn't we just get Spider-Man 4? Like, why did we reboot this? And audiences really weren't as familiar with the concept of rebooting superhero franchises at this point. So it was a little bit strange. And so we were like, well, why did we reboot this? Like, I understood why they did it when Christopher Nolan decided to do Batman. That's a whole different thing. And it had filmed with a whole different tone. But this, you know, a lot of people didn't kind of understand. And the real reason was that they wanted to make another Spider-Man movie, but, you know, ultimately they just weren't able to make it happen with Raimi and the team. And I remember what I heard was that Raimi was suffering from writer's block. He didn't really know what to do with Spider-Man 4, and Spider-Man 3 was a disappointment. And so, you know, eventually he was like, hey, you know what, Sony, like, I know that you are already planning to reboot this, so just go ahead and do it. And that's why we got it. So, but even so, you know, I remember this film coming out and people, it was a little underwhelming, but nobody thought it was bad. I think people were like, yeah, no, this was interesting. It was cool, you know. And then The Amazing Spider-Man 2 came out, and that was a mess. And so now this whole duology is really kind of looked down on.
Yeah, it's kind of just a matter of the sequel just coming and tanking the everything that they did in the first movie, you know, just kind of tanking it. As far as I understand.
Which is so sad because Andrew Garfield was such an underrated Spider-Man.
I honestly feel like he should get another turn as Spider-Man in a lead role.
He should.
He should, as an older Spider-Man in his timeline. There's no reason why Marvel couldn't do it right now.
Yeah, because, I mean, this is a good film, but I didn't feel that he had fully grown into the role as well as he did later. But then later he was in a film that many, you know, perceive as a bad film. I don't think it's a bad movie, but it is a mess. It's a hot mess.
I think the biggest part of that movie, and I know we'll get to it at some time, is the score done by Pharrell fucking Williams of all fucking people.
Okay, Hans Zimmer actually wrote the soundtrack though, but yeah, we do have the Pharrell Williams song.
It's like, apparently Pharrell Williams and Hans Zimmer collaborated. They collaborated on it. And I'm just like, why?
Why?
It's like Pharrell Williams, he's an okay producer, but he's not anyone who's like, as far as I'm concerned, you know, genre defining.
No.
You know,
he's no Danny Elfman.
He makes serviceable music in his respective genres, but it's like, what is he going to bring to a movie score?
Yeah,
it's like, I mean, he's no Trent Reznor either, you know. So it's like,
I mean, at least you know you had Hans Zimmer, but you know
even he couldn't save that score.
Right.
I've heard some of that shit, and I'm just like, what were they doing with that? This at least has it at least has a score that really, really helps accentuate everything, you know?
This one's done by James Horner.
And yeah, James Horner is fantastic at that. He's fantastic at really accentuating action scenes with his work.
No, I really fuck with the soundtrack of this movie. I love the main theme in particular. I actually like it more than the Amazing Spider-Man 2 main theme.
Yeah.
I thought I really fuck with it, and I find myself listening to it all the time, and I think it actually perfectly like matches the vibe of this movie. Like I mentioned, that whole like mystery aesthetic that they were trying to add to it.
Exactly. Yeah. There is kind of a little bit of a mysterious aura to this movie, somewhat. You know, because like you said, there's questions that are unanswered here that don't really get a satisfying conclusion or answer anything. So it's like.
Like Sally Field's Aunt May, 100% knowing that he's Spider-Man and seeing her connect the dots, and then that's just like not really addressed in the sequel.
It's like, why wouldn't you do that? It's like there could have been a great moment, like even at the beginning of the movie where she kind of even lets it slip, and then he's just like, oh, and then she's like, yeah, Peter, you're Spider-Man.
That's no worse than Rosemary Harris conveniently forgetting it in Spider-Man 3, even though she 100% knew in Spider-Man 2 when she gave that speech.
Yeah, what the fuck was that, man? It's like, come on.
But here I think they make it even more obvious with May really connecting the dots. There's a few scenes, there's some shots of her face where it's like, okay, no, she connected. Like when he like walks away from the TV after it slandered Spider-Man, combine that with him coming in and getting bruised at night, and it's like, and her whole secrets come with a cost, you know?
No, that pretty much nails it for me that she knows. I mean, she's just saying like, look, it's like, think about what you're hiding here.
Yeah. And then Marissa Tomei's May is just 100% in on it.
Absolutely.
After the first one.
That is one that I love. One thing I love about Homecoming is that at the end, that final moment where Aunt May sees, she sees Tom Holland as Spider-Man. It is just like, what the fuck? It's like, that's probably how I would respond to it as well. I would be like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
It's like, hold on.
Yeah. Aunt May in the PS4 game also knew the whole time, and she only reveals it on her deathbed. And she's just like, take off your mask. I want to see my nephew. And then you cry because she knew the whole time.
Aw. Damn. That's a good moment, it sounds like.
Yeah, but no, Sally Field is great here. We mentioned that before, along with Martin Sheen. I mean, she really actually convincingly portrays that dynamic. She's a little bit younger, and I felt like that was a little bit more relatable and a little bit more realistic.
Absolutely, yeah. That kind of feels a little closer to what the current generation of like aunts and uncles and grandparents were at that time, more or less.
I mean, it was always weird that Aunt May and Uncle Ben were old. They were old in the comics too, so everybody did that. They were just accepted that they were just older siblings, and that was kind
possible. That was kind of common whenever Spider-Man was actually created. It was common to have like much older looking parents at that time.
Yeah,
having much older parents in general.
Yeah, that actually makes sense because like my dad comes from a family where his siblings are quite a bit older than him.
Yeah.
So that was something that was a little bit more common back in the past. But here, we kind of had to modernize it a little bit. So I'm glad that we got a slightly younger May and Ben, but still a little older, a little wizened, so that we have that same dynamic that's important.
And of course, Martin Sheen, I mean, he's just very, very warm in this movie.
He is.
He gives a very warm portrayal of Uncle Ben.
He does. He really does. But also a more like realistic one that has a little bit more of an edge than Cliff Robertson's, for instance, who was just wholesome, Whereas this Ben is, he's a little bit more like an actual Uncle Ben that you might know,
Yeah, he like for instance that argument that he has with Peter on the night that he dies.
Yeah.
It's like, he's actually kind of right to be pissed at Peter there, but then Peter's also right to get upset.
Yeah.
And in the end, it's like, it's kind of where they're both kind of right there, and they're just kind of clashing, and it just leads to what it leads to.
Yeah. So, and at least Peter got a moment in the film to tell him that he's a great dad. So I appreciate that.
That was good.
But I did feel that his death wasn't quite as emotional as it could have been. It doesn't feel like it's quite as good as what we've seen before, but it still does the job.
I'm just gonna say that Uncle Ben did not have to do what he had to do. He did not have to die here. It's like, honestly, he should have just taken Peter's turn. It's like, not my monkey, not my circus.
Yeah,
it's
why the fuck did he rush that dude? It's like, okay, you know what? That's not your fucking job, dude.
He dropped a gun. It's like, at that point, I'm just going to be like, whoa, okay, dude, get your gun and go.
Well, and he heard the clerk coming out and saying, stop that guy or whatever, so I'm sure he pieced two and two together, but at the end of the day, that's still not your fucking job. You know what you do? You stand aside so you don't get hurt, you don't get killed. This is what law enforcement would tell you to do, right? And you call the fucking cops and you tell them, hey, a suspicious guy was seen coming out of a store, he had a gun, and it looks like he might have robbed the place.
I mean, for the most part, in any type of self-defense scenario, I mean, the whole point is to break contact with the person that's threatening you. It's to break contact. It's like, how the hell are you going to break contact when you're lunging for the motherfucker's gun?
Yeah,
that was stupid. It's like there is not a whole lot of instances where people do successful gun disarms and everything,
Yeah.
It's like it can happen every now and again, but it's not that prevalent. But it's like, but even with him dropping the gun, it's like, I wouldn't have even gone for it. I would have just put my hands up like, yo, just get your shit, get your gun and go, man.
Yeah, what
It's
the fuck
like-
was up? I remember even as a kid, I was like, why
That's
did he?
that's just purposeful compliance. Just be like, yo, man, this ain't even my thing.
Yeah.
It's like, and I carry a gun. I do carry a firearm on me, but even then, there's certain. I mean, obviously, there's certain things where I'm not going to draw my firearm on, and that's probably one of them. It's like that's not my job to, get the bad guy there. That's the police's job. So it's like, yeah, not my monkey.
Right, not at all.
Unless he does pick up the gun and actually point it at me, then yeah, we're going to have issues. But
exactly, yeah. But yeah, so I remember even as a kid thinking like, yeah, why the fuck did he do that? And it does sort of cheapen the moment, and it also do feel that it's a little bit fast.
Yeah,
but I think that does also kind of bring home the whole like senseless violence in New York. It's just random things that happen. Like one day your significant other might, just come out and get shot one day because they're in the wrong place at the wrong time. And
it's like, man, they lived in that city for 37 years, though. It's like, without getting got at any point. So it's like,
but it does make you feel for her when she's laying on the couch at night. And Peter has to put the blanket over. And it's like, oh, it's just happened. But yeah, like I mentioned, it feels just not quite as emotionally resonating as it could have been.
It could have been written better and it could have been edited better, I think.
Yeah.
And also I at the end of the day, I kind of feel like Ben didn't have to go out after Peter like that. Maybe
no, he didn't. Even May told him to leave him alone.
It's like leave him alone. He'll come back. He's a kid, man.
But maybe
let
that
him
is
be a
the
kid.
point. It's like, okay, maybe that is part of Ben's character. Yeah, he's the guy that came out and chased after Peter, even though he probably shouldn't have. And he's the character that rushed at the guy because he has some sense of justice and he felt that it was his moral obligation to do it. But it's like, okay, but that only applies if you actually have power. It's like with great power comes great responsibility. Okay, you don't have power, you're not the guy for the job, but
yeah,
it does I guess line up with his morals and his belief system at the end of the day, at least. So I'll give it that. And maybe it kind of portrays Ben as a slightly flawed character who met his end due to in part his own actions. So, and maybe that's part of it. I don't know if that was intentional or not.
Yeah.
How did you get out there?
Fire escape.
It's 20 stories.
Your doorman's intimidating.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, Mr. Parker.
Not much to tell, really.
Peter lives with his aunt and uncle.
Did you catch that spider guy yet?
No, but we will. This guy wears a mask like an outlaw.
I think he's trying to do something maybe the police can't.
Can't?
If you're gonna steal cars, don't dress like a car thief.
You a cop?
You seriously think I'm a cop in a skin-tight red and blue suit?
Who are you?
I know it's been rough for you, Peter. I forgot all about that thing. It was your dad's.
Your father was a very secretive man, Peter.
Dr. Connors, I'm Richard Parker's son.
Your father and I were going to change the lives of millions, including mine. Extraordinary. How did you come up with this? There's a rumor of a new species in New York. It can be aggressive if threatened.
I gotta stop him, because I created him.
That's not your job.
Maybe it is.
"38 of New York's finest versus one guy in a unitard."
If you want the truth, Peter, come and get it.
I am issuing an arrest warrant for the masked vigilante known as Spider-Man.
I'm in trouble.
But I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, it still does its purpose, and it still kind of gives it gives Peter that initial drive to actually start his vigilantism, you know?
And the way that both Peter and May react to it, I think hits well. I mean, that moment where Peter is listening to the voicemail, I mean, that's crushing. So I think they do a good job with the emotional aftermath of it. And like you said, the way that it leads Peter onto his path. And at first, it is a personal vendetta.
And yeah. It is definitely a personal vendetta, and then thematically it's dropped. But I also want to say I really like how they bring back the voicemail at the end of the movie to kind of bookend that a little bit and kind of bolster the path that Peter Parker takes in this movie. It's like,
absolutely.
Basically, it's like, you are my hero. And it's so it's like, no, he's actually really doing Uncle Ben proud there.
He is.
You know?
But it took him a moment to get there. He needed to be told, by somebody like, hey, this looks like somebody who has a personal vendetta, and it looks like somebody who is just not trying to be a hero, but a vigilante. I mean, he doesn't even want to call him a vigilante, right? He's like, he's an anarchist.
Yeah. Initially, he's like, he's an anarchist.
But it takes that, and it also takes a moment where Peter has to step up to the plate. And, we see, you mentioned it, that it's actually a really great rescue scene with the kid in the burning car off the bridge.
It really is. And that's also where that kind of finally snaps in place for him, where he has that moment where, he could absolutely go after the lizard and try to deal with the threat, but there's also people in peril.
No, Spider-Man would save the kid in the car.
Absolutely.
100%.
100% would.
Just how Superman would save that squirrel.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's what it means to be a hero right there. And I think that's the real moment when that clicks for him. And where he's just like, oh, no, this is what I must do.
Yeah, and he tells the little kid to put on the mask, and it makes him strong. And I like that. It sounds a little corny, but it works because
I don't see it as corny at all. Actually, I think it's a relatable thing that someone would do. I think, and just to calm the kid down.
Yeah, and it even kind of leads into what happens with Peter, and whenever he puts on the Spider-Man persona, what that means for him. And it's a really cool scene, and it ends up having an emotional impact later on. It actually pays off because the father of the kid sees that and decides to help and gets together with his other members of the work unions and the members of the workers of New York. Make a path for Spider-Man that I think was even better than the way that we saw the people of New York stand up for him in Spider-Man 1, for instance, where you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us.
At the end of the day, when it comes to portrayals of New York, there's nothing more New York than their construction workers. You know? And the fact of the matter is, that's a union town. Those are union workers right there. So it's like it's believable that he could be like, hey, call that guy downtown. It's like,
does he still? Do you still know the crane operator?
You still know that guy, the other crane operator. It's like, call him up.
Exactly.
Like, I mean, and they pull through for him, and that's a good triumphant moment.
It is.
I love it.
And it's a moment that is a payoff. It was built up during the film, so I feel actually it's better than the previous version we saw of that scene where, I mean, those New Yorkers standing up for Spider-Man was cool, and it showed, how much of Spider-Man meant to the city, but they literally did jack shit. They just got, threatened by the Goblin. But here, they actually gave him a path forward and helped Spider-Man. And we get a really cool moment, where he patches up his wound and he starts running. He's limping at first, but he forces himself to start running, and he goes across those beams and falls, but he gets picked up by the people of New York, and that's very Spider-Man.
Absolutely, it's just the city coming through, man.
Yeah,
it's the city coming through for the person that needs it, that they need the most
at that
moment.
New York should be a character in a Spider-Man movie.
Absolutely, and kind of even in Spider-Man games as well. Like, for instance, in the previous Spider-Man game that came out on PS5, like, I mean, New York was very much a character in its own right there.
Exactly. As it should be.
Exactly.
I feel in most live action incarnations or otherwise, I feel that they do a good job of it. But here, I think it's particularly notable. It's like, you made a living, breathing New York that felt like a character. And that was really cool.
It was. Absolutely.
And also, the other thing, too, is that I like about this film, and this kind of goes into the more grounded approach, but we actually see Peter get beat up quite a bit. We see him come out with scratches and bruises, and Gwen has to patch him up.
Yeah, it leads to that one moment where after he tries to take on Dr. Connors in the sewers, it's like he's fucked up and he shows up at Gwen's house and she's mending him up. And I think that's kind of, for one, it's a great relationship moment, which we need to talk about here is like the actual relationship between them.
Yes.
But it also kind of where things start to get a little more real as far as in a physical sense. Because, this thing can actually hurt him, which up to this point, he's just been getting bruises. But no, this clawed him.
Yeah, this is his first like supervillain encounter.
His first real threat here. You know, that's what that's emblematic of. And that's why it's great to have Gwen Stacy there to mend him up.
Yeah, with her father just right in the other room.
Oh, yeah, that's great. And there's that one funny little scene between Gwen and Captain Stacy where they just have the exchange over the hot chocolate and everything.
Yeah. By the way, By the way, his son is the Riz King himself, Jimmy Olsen.
Hell yeah,
Skylar
man.
Gisondo.
Hell yeah, that is awesome. It's like you pointed that out, and I'm just like, oh shit, that is him. It's like, yeah. It's like that. Who, by the way, is getting his own series here.
Yes,
coming up
he
very
is.
Soon. So yeah, it's good to see him seeing some success down the road. Good to see that his career's starting to flourish.
Yes, definitely. So that was cool. But let's circle it back around to Gwen and Peter, because that's really the most like important character dynamic I think in this film is between those two, and God, it works. Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone. I mean, obviously they would go on to date after this if they weren't dating already. I think this is the film where they met and started dating, if I'm not mistaken. But that chemistry really shows, and to this day they're great friends. And he had to lie to her about his involvement in No Way Home.
That's hilarious to think about, honestly.
By the way, can I say Emma Stone is my celebrity crush? I love her because not only did Garfield date her, but Gosling dated her.
Seriously, man. And I must say that I really do prefer Gwen Stacy here to MJ in the Raimi trilogy. Like this, like she is a more she has a little more agency, I feel, than MJ had in the Raimi trilogy.
That's certainly not a hot take.
Yeah, it's not a hot take, no. But I mean, here she actually has some. She has some importance to the plot, like especially in stopping Dr. Connors for what he's trying to do and everything. So she actually has a purpose, and she's actually not like a damsel in distress.
She helps Peter.
She does. She helps him, and she's more than capable to defend herself as well.
Yeah.
Because and that makes sense because she is a cop's daughter.
Yeah.
So yeah, she does puts up a little bit of a defense against Dr. Connors as the lizard, but he just doesn't see her as a threat. So he just grabs the machine and just leaves her alone.
Yeah. And Peter tries to keep her out of trouble, but at the end of the day, I mean, she's going to make her own choices. Again, that's going to come full circle in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, she's going to be there. She wants to be there. And he made the decision to let her in on his secret. And I feel like that was I like that they made that decision here instead of keeping her in the dark. It's like, no, he told her right away, because that's exactly what a teenager would do. You fall in love with this girl, like, what are you going to do? You're going to tell her.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I love that moment where they're flirting and she thinks that he's trying to tell her, like, confess his feelings, but he's just trying to tell her he's Spider-Man.
But then she puts it together when he finally just grabs that ass with the webbing and then it just brings her in. It's like, hey, smooth, my man.
Yeah.
It's like, what can I say?
Because again, that's the kind of move I would pull off, because I'd be so nervous that I'd be like, but then I'd pull it off at the last moment and do something smooth like that. Like it's like it's like the instincts are there somewhere, but like he's just grappling the whole Spider-Man thing, and I think that gave him the courage to do what he needed to do, and I think that's intentional. It's like we don't actually see him actually start to develop a relationship with Gwen until he gets his powers, and later he doesn't follow through on that until he actually starts to embrace the role of a hero.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I just love this Peter and Gwen just as a couple 100%. Like you just get behind them almost immediately.
Like I said, that chemistry is just so apparent, and they work so well together, and I love they're so cute together.
But the other thing that's good about her character here is that she doesn't seem to actually be tied to another to another boyfriend or anything. So there's no like love triangle here, which, yeah, that's like my least favorite part of the Raimi trilogy is the love triangle between Harry and MJ and Peter.
Yeah.
That develops throughout those three movies. I feel like it just makes things messy. It just drags down the characters themselves. Like it really drags down MJ. It's the most. I mean, and that's sad because Kirsten Dunst was great in that movie, but I don't know. There's a reason why fans of the Raimi trilogy say that Peter's neighbor, Ursula, should have been his girlfriend. And it's like, no, yeah, she should have. In a perfect world, that's what would have happened here. But no, we get this weirdness between Harry and MJ and him. And it's like, I'm glad that that's not really here. You know, I mean, we have maybe some interaction between her and Flash, but that doesn't really seem like a boyfriend-girlfriend interaction.
Yeah,
you know?
I was a bit confused on that because, Mary Jane was dating Flash, which followed that trope of the love interest is dating the bully, which I kind of think is problematic because it's like, what kind of person is okay with someone who's obviously a bully?
That's an old 80s movie trope that just kind of stayed around a little too long, if you ask me.
Here, I don't know what their relationship is because she says something like, are we still on for 3:30? But they don't say what that is. Is it a date? Is it tutoring? Like, what are they on for? They don't say. It's obviously not a problem when Peter asks her out. She's clearly single. So
obviously, so it's like, yeah, what's going on there?
They didn't really clarify that. So, but I'm assuming that they're not in a relationship, and that's for the better. You know, it makes her to be a much better character, that she's not complicit with an obvious bully.
Yeah, and it actually gives her agency in actually pursuing Peter. And everything in the end, you know, it's like it makes it a more realistic relationship, I feel.
It does.
Not like what we get between Peter and MJ.
And it's not just, you know, him fawning after her until she finally realizes. They pursue each other.
Yeah, they're mutually interested in each other, and that's an interesting take on a relationship in these types of movies because by that point that old trope has just kind of been played out, you know, and honestly the lack of a love triangle here makes this a stronger movie narrative wise, and it makes the main couple here a much stronger couple.
Exactly. You know, I think it actually kind of proves that you don't need a love triangle to create tension for a romance. You just need a strongly relatable couple and some stakes.
Yeah, some adversity. You know,
exactly. Like, okay, it's her dad is the guy that's hunting Spider-Man. That's tension. That works. Or, you know, later on when the idea of her, you know, dying as a result of being entangled in his crime fighting, you know?
Yeah.
Like that works. That's how you do a romance like this. And they do a lot of back and forth in Amazing Spider-Man 2 with those two characters. And that's where the tension comes from. We don't need to add some other character into the mix to make that work.
Absolutely not. There was no need for it. Like they could easily have done that with Flash, but I'm glad that they didn't do that. And that's what made Flash a much better character for it as well.
Exactly. So there are a lot of aspects of this that actually are better. And I feel like those are overlooked a lot of times when people talk about The Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah.
There are a lot of aspects of this movie that not only were unique, but that were actually better, that were some of the best stuff that we've gotten out of live action Spider-Man. And I feel that every on-screen portrayal of this character has had something to offer. And I'm glad that, you know, Andrew Garfield has kind of had a renaissance of sorts as Peter Parker Spider-Man because, you know, as a result of No Way Home and whatnot, you know, people kind of came around and are like, no, actually, he was always good. But I'm going to tell you what, I was always on board with him. I always loved these movies.
I totally get it, man. I totally get why it was important to have him in No Way Home. Like the response that he had in that movie was like from the audience was like really, really strong.
Yeah.
I would say almost stronger than even Maguire or Holland.
Yeah. I wish we got to see him do a symbiote storyline. That would have been really cool to see him take a...
That would have been really interesting.
And would have fit the vibe of these movies, which were trying to kind of be a little bit darker, or at least this one.
Exactly. Yeah, it would have made a lot more sense than Spider-Man 3.
Yeah. which Raimi didn't even want to do.
Of course.
He didn't even want to include Venom, and he shouldn't have had to. Although
no, not at all.
I do feel like, and we talked about this in the Spider-Man 3 episode, but I do feel like what Raimi added to the symbiote mythos actually really works. But anyway, we're going off on a tangent.
Yeah.
I guess we might as well get into our final thoughts here then on The Amazing Spider-Man. We'll start with you, my friend.
I've got to say, for the longest time, I heard about the reputation of this movie. You know, I've watched the Ralph the Movie Maker episodes on it. I've watched, you know, like the Elvis the Alien episodes. I've watched, you know, and I've also watched reviews like the Nostalgia Critic. You know, he actually gave it a pretty positive review and everything. And so, I mean, I did kind of, for the longest time, let the internet's opinion of this movie color my want to see it. But honestly, now that I've actually sat down and gone through the whole movie, it's like, no, there's a lot of things that make this fascinating, just like Doug said in his episode. Fascinating.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I mean, I'm fascinated by the Gwen Stacy and Peter Parker relationship. I'm fascinated by, you know, how they hash out how he learns his powers and everything, and how he actually learns his strengths and whatnot, you know, and builds his web slingers and whatnot.
Yeah.
You know?
That was something we didn't talk about, is they added back the mechanical web slingers,
exactly.
which I mean, you know, the organic web shooters were an invention of the Raimi movies, because I guess he didn't feel that a teenager could actually do that.
But here it actually makes sense that this Peter Parker could make something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, with Tom Holland, for fuck's sake, I mean, they made him like even more of a genius, almost to the point of straining credulity to me, honestly.
It takes place in a universe where people like Tony Stark exist.
Yeah, and that's true. That's true.
They have that technology available. So
yeah.
I'll hand wave that. I do really like the way that we see Andrew Garfield. Another moment that you know is just fresh and, you know, lives rent free in my brain all the time, and I always fantasize about was him like kind of building together, you know, putting together the suit, building together the gadgets, watching him experiment and test on things. We see a little bit more of it in Amazing Spider-Man 2 when he's trying to electro-proof his suit and his webbing. I really like that. We get a little bit of that like mad scientist stuff that we were honestly missing before. I'm glad that we got to see all three Spider-Men doing it later.
Absolutely.
In No Way Home, but being science bros. But yeah, we actually got that like science engineer angle to Peter here that was missing before, and that was cool.
Yeah, and it makes a lot more sense in this particular version of his universe.
Yes.
You know, it actually fits here. And I understand the dark and the more dark and realistic trend at that time. I understand it, and arguably Zack Snyder kind of killed it. He destroyed that era.
He did.
You're like dead. Snyder cult. That's right. R/Snyder cult. I'm talking to you.
Hey, you know what? Counterpoint: Matt Reeves, the Batman.
Yeah, true that. But yeah, it's like this turned out to actually be a fun movie. I wish the editing would have been a little more on point. I wish the script could have gone a little further in some ways and maybe dialed some things back a little bit. But otherwise, it was fun, man. It was it was a lot of fun watching it with you and watching it by myself. So I mean, yeah, it's a mixed bag in many ways, but it's like, I kind of feel like you can get a lot of things out of this movie that you wouldn't get from the Raimi trilogy. So I say, yeah, sure, watch it, man. It's like, but we are going to have to eventually talk about Amazing Spider-Man 2, because that's such a legendary mess that we've just got to kind of pick through it.
Yes,
like how corny it became. Like they brought. I think that's the worst thing about that. They brought back the corniness.
Yeah.
And when this right here, this didn't need that type of corniness to make a compelling story.
Not at all.
And also, I do kind of feel like maybe it was a little long at some points, but other than that, yeah, sure, this was a lot better than I thought it would be.
Hell yeah, for sure. Absolutely. As for me, I mentioned this before, but I have a unique relationship with this film. There's a lot of things that I really, really love about it. And some of that is unique to me as a person. And that's okay. I think that that's the whole point of cinema, is to find what works with you. But I think that this film does a lot to make itself more relatable. I think that it works well with what it was given the era that it came out in and what the studio felt needed to be done. So Marc Webb's The Amazing Spider-Man is really, in my opinion, a solid film. It's a good Spider-Man movie. It's got a lot of what makes this character great. And yeah, it could have been better. It's not my favorite, and it's certainly not the best, but it's still a film worth talking about. It's worth checking out. I think it has a lot to offer, and I think that if you haven't seen this film in a while, or maybe you haven't watched this movie before, go check it out for sure. Especially if you're a fan of superhero movies, I think this is a pretty good one. The suit, we didn't talk about the suit, but the suit in here is really cool and unique. I love the Amazing Spider-Man 2 suit. I think that's one of the very best that we've ever seen, but this tried to do something very different after the webbed suit from the Raimi series being so well received and so good. Here it's like, okay, well, we got to do something a little bit different, and I think this comes out as one of the more unique looking suits. I love it, the whole spandex, the texture to it and everything.
Yeah, I get it, and I'm not one to nerd out about aspects of those movies like this. It's like I know you and Robert have really nerded out on the suits and the masks and everything hardcore, but I get it though.
Tom Holland's new suit is 100% the best suit we've ever seen though.
Hell yeah, man. That's good.
Brand New Day. That's 100% like the best on-screen Spider-Man suit we've ever had. And I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, this was cool. I liked it. And like you mentioned, Bo, I think it's a suit that's unique enough that most people are like, okay, yeah, I remember that one being a little different,
Yeah.
They're kind of going for a little bit more of that like dark grunginess to it even, and it translates. So I love it. I love Andrew Garfield. Love him. And I love everything about, I don't love everything about this movie. I talked about quite a few things I don't love, but I love almost everything about this movie, and I love it for its imperfections. I do.
Yeah, it's kind of in the same way you watch Spider-Man 3 for the memes, you watch this for the nostalgia of this time, you know? It's very much of its time. It's the 2010s all the way.
100%.
100%. Even with that one sequence where he's in the garage and he's doing the swinging on the chains and everything.
Yes, we didn't talk about that.
Very, very 2010s right there.
Very, very, but I love it. I love that so much. It's so good to me. The Amazing Spider-Man is a film that makes me happy. It's actually kind of a comfort movie too. This is something I love to put on, especially right after I've watched the Raimi Spider-Man movies. Like I'll just go ahead and do a marathon. A lot of times I'm like, I want to watch Amazing Spider-Man now.
It makes sense.
Just to see this other take on it, which is cool. And I love origin stories. I've mentioned that in the past, I think, but I really have a soft spot for origin stories. I know a lot of people are sick of them. A lot of people think they're unnecessary, but I fuck with them. I love origin stories. I love seeing how different studios and writers and directors, take these origins and what they do with these characters, which is cool. But anywho, so that is our thoughts on The Amazing Spider-Man. As for Collateral Gaming, I'll go ahead and plug that.
Yeah.
We are, we should have out soon, or not already, our episode on Silent Hill F. I know Bo and I were going to record that this week. So go check that out. That was technically supposed to be part of our Spooky Month content. So that'll be the end of spooky season for us. And then we can move on to Ghost of Yote. And I'm really excited to talk about that. We're going to have a 2-part episode here. Hopefully both parts out in November. Part 1 will be our spoiler-free game launch review. Part 2 will be full spoilers. And Dan Rockwood from Victims and Villains will be joining us for that. Joining me for that. I think it's just going to be me and him. And also, I'd like to do a game launch episode on Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. I haven't talked about that yet or announced that on stream, but it's a Zelda spinoff, so 100% I'm going to talk about it.
I would actually like to play that. I mean, I played the previous Hyrule Warriors. That was interesting.
You played the original, or did you play Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity?
I think it was whichever one you had on your old Switch.
I have both on my Switch.
You had both of them? I may have played either one.
But the original Hyrule Warriors is kind of more of a like general across the Zelda series, whereas Age of Calamity is specifically Breath of the Wild adjacent. This game is Tears of the Kingdom adjacent.
Okay.
It's the prequel story.
Interesting. Okay.
That is the backstory of. So it's a lot more similar to Age of Calamity than anything.
Okay.
But it's good. I love it so far. So we'll have that out. I know Megan and I want to do a bonus round episode out this month on game recommendations, and Bo, you should be joining us for that as well.
Absolutely. I'm putting together my list.
And then December will be our normally it's Zelda month, so that's what we're doing for the holiday special. We're talking A Link to the Past, but we will also be covering Metroid Prime 4. Again, part 1 spoiler free, part 2 full spoilers, because Metroid Prime 4 is my most anticipated game of the year, and my body is ready.
Oh, yeah, man. I remember the original Metroid Prime. That was a fun game.
It is, man.
And to see it go to 4 games now, that's cool.
And doing Zelda and Metroid in December is a Christmas gift in and of itself.
It really is.
Those are my two favorite gaming franchises, so I'm super excited.
Hell yeah, man.
But yeah, as for Collateral Cinema, I know next we have up Lara Croft Tomb Raider, which is also a Collateral Gaming collab, right, Bo?
Exactly. And I believe we will be joined not only by Megan from Collateral Gaming, but we're also going to be joined by Craig and possibly someone else from Reading Between the Reels, I believe. So yeah, that's going to be a fun little collab with a good guest.
Oh my God, Megan said she wanted to guest on this episode, and I just completely forgot about.
Oh no, sorry. Megan,
Megan, I'm sorry if you're listening to this. I should have texted you and told you we were doing this. I just
damn it,
slipped my mind, man.
Damn it.
But it's okay. We'll have us all together for the Tomb Raider collab episode, and then after that we'll be getting into our holiday content, Bad Movie December, right?
Absolutely. Yep, we'll be getting into Buttercream Gang 2. And we will also be doing Cade the Tortured Crossing. As of right now, the last current Neil Breen movie, but apparently he will have a new one out soon. He finished production on it.
God, I'm so ready for that.
I'm ready for new Neil Breen, man.
Because I mean,
talk about my body being ready. I'm just like more Breenius.
How do we top the tiger scene in Cade the Tortured Crossing?
I don't know how.
Because that's peak cinema, absolute cinema, right there.
That was majestic.
100%.
100%. Yeah. So yeah, that's coming up. And our Halloween content, we will be doing our collaboration with Victims and Villains on the brand new Silent Night, Deadly Night remake, which will be a lot of fun. Several seasons ago, we did the original one. So it only makes sense that we would do this one since it's coming out.
Exactly. That's what I said. I saw it was coming out. I think you had like a Karate Kid Christmas written.
I wanted to do a bad Christmas movie, but then Josh was just like, let's do Silent Night, Deadly Night, the new one. I'm like, oh, that's right. That is coming out this year.
You had a Karate Christmas Miracle written down,
but with a question mark, and I was just like, maybe.
And I was like, no. I said, there's a new Silent Night, Deadly Night coming out. Maybe we should do that. So I think that's perfect. That fits the vibe.
It is. So yeah, and then we'll have our post holiday content, our director's cut episode, and that'll be, of course, our Adult Swim edition. We're going to be talking about the holiday episodes of Smiling Friends and YOLO, which is going to be a lot of fun.
Nice.
So hell yeah.
Hell yeah, bro. All right. Well, you can find Collateral Cinema and Gaming wherever you get your podcasts. We're also on YouTube, where you can check out Collateral Let's Play. We have out episode of Phoenix Wright Wednesday. So go check that out, and we'll continue to release those, and we'll do some more series as well. I know I want to relaunch Call of Duty Saturday as Shooter Saturday. Ironically, I may still end up launching it with Call of Duty because Black Ops 7 is coming out this weekend, and I want to cover that. But I also want to cover Battlefield 6 and Metroid Mondays is an idea I've been floating around. So especially with the release of Metroid Prime 4, I feel like that's imminent. So I'm really excited to get into some more Let's Play content. You can go check that out on either of our YouTube channels. We do also have a Patreon, a Buy Me a Coffee, and a merch store on Dashery.
Absolutely. You can find hats, you can find t-shirts, you can find, I believe they even have coffee mugs and stickers and all kinds of stuff with our with our logos on it. And we should be bringing some new designs out soon. We had some ideas, but I guess some current events have prevented us from doing so. But
yeah,
we'll get to them. We'll get them out.
Well, yeah. We'll get there. Yeah. So, hell yeah, guys. Look forward to the remainder of Season 9 of Collateral Cinema. We've got a lot in store for y'all. Do you have anything else to add, Bo?
No, I don't believe I do.
All right. You can find us on all the socials, of course. We'll have links in the show notes. But with all that being said, I've been Ashley Chancellor.
And I've been Bo Dr. Connors Maddox.
This was Collateral Cinema. We are out.
Reptile supremacy. Laters.
Collateral Cinema is a Collateral Media podcast. All music and movie clips are owned by the respective creators and are used for educational purposes only. Please don't sue us. We're poor.